The sun beats down on the hills of Montana. The air shimmers with heat, and only the wind whispers in the grass, as if warning of what is to come. In this silence, broken by the clatter of hooves, steel and blue cloth advance. The 7th Cavalry Regiment, at its head. A man whose name would become legend on both sides of this battle. Colonel George Armstrong Custer. He leads his men toward glory. He does not know he leads them to their last stand. June 25, 1876. Territory of Montana. Colonel George Armstrong Custer, confident, glory-seeking, and certain of victory, led the 7th Cavalry across the dusty hills of Montana. He expected an easy triumph over what he dismissed as untrained savages. His scouts had reported a large Sioux and Cheyenne encampment along the Little Bighorn River, but Custer, accustomed to tactics of intimidation, had no idea of its true scale. The camp sprawled along the winding river was immense. Over 7,000 Lakota, Dakota, and Cheyenne men, women, and children had gathered there, united under the leadership of Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse. This was no mere camp. It was a living city of buffalo hides, vibrant with life and ancient spirits. Sitting Bull, the spiritual leader, had recently received a vision. Countless soldiers falling from the sky into their village like locusts. This prophecy had fortified the warriors' resolve. Ignoring advice to wait for reinforcements, Custer split his forces. Leading 215 men of his immediate battalion, he launched a frontal assault, hoping to strike the camp from the flank. It was a fatal mistake. Instead of the panicked flight he anticipated, a torrent of warriors surged from the village. It wasn't hundreds, it was thousands. Crazy Horse's fighters, intimately familiar with the terrain, swiftly outflanked the soldiers. The blue-coated troopers, caught utterly off guard, were driven back onto the chaotic, undulating hills. Panic and terror engulfed Custer's command. Disciplined ranks dissolved under a storm of arrows and bullets. Horses fell with wild screams. Men shouted in desperation. Gunsmoke and dust blotted out the sun. Custer, his long blonde hair streaming, tried to form a desperate last stand on the final ridge, but it was futile. The Sioux and Cheyenne warriors, moving as one lethal force, tightened the circle. The battle devolved into brutal hand-to-hand combat. Gunfire gave way to the clash of steel, the thud of tomahawks, and fierce war cries. This was no European-style engagement. It was swift, relentless annihilation. Within just a few hours, it was over. Silence settled over the hill, now littered with bodies, broken only by the howling wind and the calls of circling crows. Not a single soldier in Custer's detachment survived. It was a crushing triumph for Native Americans, the greatest defeat ever inflicted on the U.S. Army in the long and bloody Black Hills War. Yet this victory became their swan song. News of the disaster shocked the nation. "Custer is dead," screamed the newspapers. Outraged, America poured even more troops into the West to exact revenge. The shadow of the Little Bighorn fell forever across history, a symbol of desperate courage on one side, and fatal arrogance on the other.